Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of GRID Encore. I'm Ben Schneider alongside Joshua Burch. Casey Campbell will be joining us a little bit later on in the show. Josh, it's good to see you again. How's it going for you?
Oh, it's going very well. Thank you very much. Hope you're doing well. And everybody watching, and Casey behind the scenes as well. Good weekend in motorsport, I thought. Nice to sort of get back into the swing of things. Must admit, it felt weird once again after 3 months of not really commentating on many series to wake up with sore throat and not have any voice for the first 4 hours of the day. But I was still a bit croaky, but it's showtime, so we've got to get on with some things.
Yeah, really our first packed weekend here at the GRID Network with so many different series to go through and to cover. So we'll get into that here in terms of the feeder series and development series here on the Encore show as always. But first, we want to give a special shout out to our Patreon supporters, Colin, Deschelle, Mark, Robin, and David. Thank you all so much for investing in the GRID Network. Your support means the world to us. It allows us to stay on the air and continue to expand our coverage here at the GRID Network in 2023 and beyond. Well, Josh, we had F2 and F3 return this weekend in Bahrain. We'll start off with those season openers. In F3, Pepe Marti took the win in the sprint race, while Gabriel Bortoleto inherited the feature win after a 5-second time penalty was handed out to Gabriel Mini for a start infringement. Meanwhile, in F2, Ralph Beauchamp finally scored his first victory in the series, his maiden win after, I believe, something in the range of 96 Formula 2 starts. That's a great result from a Swiss driver after missing so much of last season due to injury. Beauchamp also finished second in the feature race behind a dominant Theo Porcher. So, Josh, what stood out to you from these two series the most in Bahrain this weekend?
Well, starting with the Formula 2 as well, definitely Ralph Beauchamp. He's one of the most experienced drivers on the grid. He's competed in all seasons of when the series has been known as FIA Formula 2. And that's been back since, I think, about 2017. So it's a really long career. He's even in GP2 as well. 96 starts. He won on that attempt as well in the sprint race. Absolutely fantastic. And even came back to have a great feature race with second position. So Ralph Beauchamp currently second in the title, and that was only his fourth ever podium in Formula 2 and his first weekend of being a victor. Absolutely amazing stuff for him. I think Theo Porcher really impressed me as well with victory in the feature, dominated there as well. And two drivers as well that really impressed me. Kush Maney, some great moves we saw. But the other was America's own Juan Manuel Correa. Points back in Formula 2 for the first time since his horrible accident back in Spa in 2019. And Dimas is exactly there saying about Juan Manuel Correa back to F2. I know Dimas was joining me in the watch-longs in the chat room as well throughout the weekend. And I must admit, that's one of my highlights as well. Juan Manuel Correa back in that points-paying position was definitely needed as well. There was a couple of errors, though, I noticed, and a few schoolboy errors in Formula 2 with many of the drivers forgetting grid procedures and penalties and how to serve them. Esteban Ocon also was failing that. So in all three series, there was a bit of rust that needed to be kicked off from people. But Formula 2, I think it was a really strong weekend to start the season off. F2 was absolutely electric. The feature race was just absolute chaos. We had overtakes, side-by-side maneuvers. It was fantastic. The battle from third down was absolutely amazing. Leclerc was in there as well. Arthur Leclerc, that is, in sixth position his first weekend. Hadjar, Wasser, Fittipaldi, Correa, all battling in the last couple of laps, side-by-side drama. I think Formula 2 was definitely one of the best series of the weekend. And in Formula 3 as well, Fernando Alonso, who managed, of course, the AF14 management company, had a great one because in the sprint race, it was Pepe Marti, of course, who got the victory as well. Fantastic there as well for Jose Maria Marti, of course, Pepe's nickname. Absolutely fantastic, the Spanish driver getting his first win there as well. And Alonso was there on the trophy, just lifting it up and being all excited. Franco Colapinto impressed me as well with second, car clear and third. A couple of spinners as well further back. Sophia Flörsch, an honorable mention there as well. She was on the second half of the stage of the pages there, 22nd as well, but started further back, had to start from the pit lane due to an on-track grid procedure error because the two teams, the two cars as well, Nikola Tuzlova was the other one, they stopped in the pit lane as well because they had to have mechanics on the grid within the 15-second signal, and it all got a bit messy. So Formula 3 was actually the worst. You remember earlier on I mentioned about the start procedure errors. Formula 3, the sprint race was the worst because we had two mechanics on the grid at opposite sides of the track, just casually walking in between when we were trying to count down for the light sequence for the formation lap. And then just before the green light went on, a marshal ran across the track. She was removed from the starting grid and put down to one of the turns as well, but very dangerous situations. That also goes as well as because Murray Boyer as well, and his race engineer, during Thursday on the high-speed test track, actually climbed over the barrier of the support pit lane that's located at turns 10 and 11 down that back straightaway. They climbed onto the track when the medical car was still out on the circuit doing its reconnaissance laps at high speed. And as soon as they got on the track, the medical car came bounding out the corner and they had to hop back over the fence. They've been fined €1,000 and both of them have had their license suspended and withdrawn from the Formula 3 campaign. But that has been suspended for 1 whole year. And if they do anything similar or anything other that is in breach of the regulations, they'll have their permanent credentials taken away from them. So there's a big schoolboy errors all weekend in Formula 3. In the feature race, Gabriel Bortolello taking the win as well, as we heard as well. Gabriel really got bad luck on that penalty because a safety car came out late. He dropped all the way down to 8th position, but that was another one where there was overtakes galore in the race as well. Oliver Geller second, Dino Begnovic as well in 3rd position. Great positions there for them. But it was really a great weekend for Formula 3. Best of the racing I saw was from Formula 2. And definitely everybody needs to learn the rules and regulations of the game. And Jose Mega says, amazing me that 30 F3 cars were in the race. Most we've ever had, and it really is taking me time because usually, as you all know, I have stats on every driver up in the commentary box. The Formula 3 field was only complete 2 days before the start of practice, and we haven't got all the notes ready yet. So that's going to be ready for Australia. So me and Cynthia were commentating off a timing screen, looking for the drivers' numbers because we weren't familiar yet because they didn't get released until the morning of practice, what numbers everybody was running with. And also, the FIA was interfering because the length of the sprint race was supposed to be 20 laps. They reduced it down to 19, and the feature race was supposed to be 23. They removed it down to 22. We still got no idea why they interfered and changed the length of the rules. We understand it's because other series were tightly compacted and they wanted to make sure everything got in within the 40 minutes for the sprint race plus 1 lap and the 45 minutes for the feature because everything was overlapping. But it was a very dramatic weekend, Ben.
Well, one quick follow-up. I think some race fans might notice a familiar name in Formula 3 this year. 9th place in the feature, Sebastian Montoya, the son of former Formula 1 driver, Indy 500 champion, NASCAR driver, sports car driver. Basically, you name it, Juan Pablo Montoya has done it in this world. I think one of the most underrated drivers of our generation. What stood out to you from Sebastian this weekend as he made his Formula 3 debut?
Oh, Montoya was absolutely fantastic, Ben, as well. Overtakes, fantastic. He's got the craftsmanship of his father as well in terms of the moves. I mean, he went on the inside at turn 10 as well in one opportunity. That's exactly what Alonso did on Hamilton as well. And I said in the commentary as well how fantastic and unique move that was. And then he even went around the outside at one point as well. Montoya's got the racecraft of his father. And you remember the move he made, Juan Pablo made on Schumacher in Brazil in 01, literally on the restart, up the inside, forced off the track. That's the move I saw from Montoya this weekend. He's a fast, aggressive young racer. And I'm going to say he will be in Formula 1 one day. He's got that talent. And I was incredibly impressed with Montoya. And it was very weird saying about Montoya on the grid. I watched his father race in 2001 all the way up into 2006. I was supporting Montoya as well as a youngster. And it's weird seeing his son in Formula 3 and I'm commentating on him. It never get not weird. And one more thing I've got to add is because you reminded me about Christian Mansell, about famous names. He's not related to Nigel Mansell, it's completely separate, but Christian Mansell is a type 1 diabetic as well, and he was given special dispensation by the stewards to carry a mobile phone in the cockpit of the car. Now, the reason that is because he wears a patch, like many people do who are diabetic and type 1, which measures their blood sugar and insulin levels as well. Now, that data goes to your mobile phone, like this is here. It's currently my microphone cable, so that goes to your mobile phone. And that will then get sent back to the race engineer on the pit wall. Now, at any point, if his levels get low, he's allowed to come into the pit lane and have an injection of insulin. Now, that's interesting because the FIA have a no-needle policy, same as what we see in MotoGP, so he's had special dispensation for that as well. But how fantastic is it that it's so dangerous racing as a type 1 diabetic? You can't even, in this country, in the UK, you can't even drive if you're a type 1 diabetic and you have fits because of it. You have to have everything under control and everything perfect in order to be allowed to drive and your eyes to be completely clear. And it's fantastic for Christian Mantle that he's a racing driver and has all that as well under control. I just wanted to mention it was absolutely fantastic and so brave of him to do so, and I found it fantastic. And hopefully he continues in motorsport for a long time and doesn't suffer anything behind the wheel, because that would be absolutely horrendous as well. And I do know, however, if he does retire on the track, he has also somebody that's able to come and get him and bring him back in as well. But his physical fitness is absolutely fantastic, and it's second to none in motorsport.
Well, one more question before we move on. I know you're very eager to talk about who won the Truck Series race on Friday night in Las Vegas, Josh. But I know it's obviously still very early. We've only had a couple of races and one race weekend. Do you have any sort of way too early championship predictions for both Formula 2 and Formula 3?
For Formula 2, I said it in commentary, I think we're going to see Ralph Boschung sort of have a coming of age. He's getting quite used to the car. He was loving life. But I think Theo Pourchaire is going to be the champion. I really do. Pourchaire needs to perform this year. It's his third season in Formula 2. And he wants that Formula 1 seat, doesn't he? He's been after it for so long. I think we're going to see him run away with the title with a challenge from Boschung. And in Formula 3, Gabriel Mini is strong as well. We saw he was dominating the Formula 3 race before a penalty for speeding in the pit lane, as you said earlier. I believe it was as well. 5 seconds penalty for start infringement. Sorry, it was in the wrong grid slot as well. And it was speeding in the pit lane for Ocon. It's been so long day. But I think Gabriel Mini is going to be up there. Bortolello was looking quite strong. But Formula 3, it is a bit too early to tell. Formula 2, it's slam dunk. It's going to be Pourchaire.
Yeah, I think it's certainly Pourchaire's got to be the favorite over in F2. And a comment from Adam Lemery. That's a cool story about Christian Mansell. Thank you for sharing that, Josh. We appreciate all you do to help us cover these series here on the Encore show.
I'm loving every second of it. It's fantastic because I never get to mention much of this information because I found out some of it during the weekend, but then usually Sunday night when I'm ringing around texting people, I find out more information and I never get to share it anywhere. And I have to wait weeks and weeks and I forget some of it. So the Encore show is perfect because get the Junior Series in and get the cool stories and you get to remember everything.
Well, I'm glad you love that so much because I don't think you are going to love the next topic that we have to talk about.
No.
A shocking upset for the ages, Josh. I don't know. I just couldn't believe my eyes when I saw it. Unbelievable upset of the century. Kyle Busch won a Truck Series race. Truly an underdog story for the ages here.
I think he is fantastic. What a youngster to come in and win a Truck Series. I look forward to watching his career with very great interest as well. I hear he's even getting an attempt in a cup car. Maybe that's a bit too early to go for that as well. He needs a bit of more time in the trucks as well. Hey, maybe even he should try an Xfinity as well at some point. Maybe he's a good hand at that. But in all seriousness, no. How long is this going to take? This is the conversation we were having last year so many times about having Cup Series drivers in Xfinity and in the Truck Series. Next, he'll go ARCA. I'm waiting for the weekend where somebody tries all 4 races just to spite me because it's ridiculous. He was my pick a winner for the Cup Series, Kyle Busch, this weekend. I know it was his home race here in Las Vegas. And I know it was all that. It was a lot of specialties around him. I get that, but only race once in your main Cup Series. Do I get a bonus point for picking him for pick a winner if he races in another series on the same track? Oh, God, it's so ridiculous. I wish I was in control of NASCAR because I would stop all of that. If you get to the Cup Series, that's it. You are not allowed to go back down unless you are severely demoted for, say, I don't know, cheating or something like that, or punching a driver, I don't know. But then again, saying that, Bubba Wallace will never be out of the Xfinity Series. But still, this is getting ridiculous now because the Truck Series, even more so than when I complain about the Xfinity Series, Truck Series is there for young drivers. It's there for people to get in, learn about the sport, and get up to Xfinity, get yourself noticed. And Kyle just comes in and It's ridiculous. I mean, I think Casey said it, and you said it before, Ben, as well. It's equivalent of a Formula One driver going to a GP3 race and winning. It's ridiculous. I mean, I must admit, it was kind of like watching Fernando Alonso this weekend as well, because Alonso was showing old dog, new tricks, blasting everywhere and showing he was good. But he was in a much faster car than the Ferraris and the Mercedes were. And that's sort of exactly what it is. Kyle Busch had a better car than everybody on the day. And also, he's had years and years and years of experience as well. I hate it. I so hate it. It's race weekend 1 of main season running, and I'm already talking about this. I mean, just cut me off, and just before I go ranting about everything as well, because I am waiting. Somebody has got to try the 4 just to see if it's possible and to see how long I can ramble about how annoying it will be to do ARCA, Truck, Xfinity, and Cup. And I'm trying to think of a race weekend when that's possible, but this is ridiculous. Just stay in one series. Don't migrate. Otherwise, you don't want to be there. I'll tell you what, though, Ben. How about this? Let's get someone doing a Cup Series race on Sunday and the IndyCar race on Saturday at the 500. At the Indianapolis Motor Speedway on the second race road course they run there. Let's get someone doing that, and then maybe we can shut everybody up, because this not what happened now. This is getting ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous.
See, that's the crossover we love to see, when drivers cross over different disciplines and different series. We love seeing that. Of course, not as much when it's drivers going down a couple of steps on the development ladder. I don't know. I think Kyle Busch, I could maybe see him winning somewhere in the neighborhood of 61 Cup races and Cup championships in his future. I mean, I don't know why those numbers are so specific, but I think this kid's got a very bright future whenever he gets to Cup. No, in all seriousness,
Casey said, look at that. Casey just said he's in the Xfinity race this weekend. So
yeah.
I'm using my microphone. See if that might stop it.
Yeah. Well, listen, I mean, people follow me on Twitter. They would have seen a short little thread I put out after Kyle won. And I said, I hate it just as much as the next guy. And, I have very mixed feelings about it, because I try to separate, there's that old saying, don't hate the player, hate the game. So in this case, I think I would turn it around and say, don't hate Kyle Busch for doing it, hate NASCAR for the rules that allow him to do it. And when you look at his stats, and Xfinity's the same way too. Of course, he wasn't in Xfinity last year. He won all 5 of his starts in 2021. He's already not going to be able to do that again this year, because he was 4th in the Xfinity race this weekend. And we'll get into that a little bit later on when Casey joins the show here. But, I do think it's doing a little bit of a disservice when we say there's zero impressive, it's not impressive at all. I think when you look at the quality of the Xfinity and truck fields, we got to keep in mind, we not only do we have some of the top prospects in the sport who are knocking on the door of a Cup ride, we also have past series champions in there. We have veterans who maybe for whatever reason, whether it's funding or just lack of open seats, kind of got shuffled out of a Cup opportunity, or they want to be in a competitive Xfinity or truck ride as opposed to a backmarker Cup team. So I think when you look at Kyle's resume in the truck series in particular, I think he's won something like 14 of his last 25 and been in the top 21 of his last 25 truck series starts. I mean, these are vehicles that, obviously it's still NASCAR, it's still the same tracks, but, especially with the new next gen car, these trucks drive completely differently from the Cup cars, and to be able to jump in a lot of times without practice and qualifying and still have a win record like that, I don't want to take away from Kyle's skill set. He's obviously an all-time great, but it's the principle of allowing a driver to go back down the ladder. And again, I understand that, it's not an apples to oranges comparison with F2 and F3, because we do have some veterans in those series as well. But, like we said, you never see in any other sport a athlete or a driver going back down to the minor leagues or to the feeder series to mess around on, Saturday before they get into their day job on Sunday. So, we've had this debate before on the show. It's a debate that I don't think is ever going to go away. I think we're pretty much, at the point where, what we have now is the way it's going to be. I know it's certainly better than it was 10, 15 years ago when I was just starting to, get into the sport and watch it every weekend. I still remember the first Busch race I ever watched. Back then, the Xfinity Series was the Busch Series, ironically. You think of the man that's dominated it for so many years. 26 Cup drivers were in that race at Las Vegas, and to only have, be down to 2 or 3, at the beginning parts of the year because they're not allowed to run the playoff races even anymore. I think it's a good compromise because I know that there are passionate fans on either side of the argument. But again, I would, to the people who are on the side that we're not on, who endorse it and support it, I would ask, where else do you see this in professional sports? It's really kind of unprecedented. And again, I understand that there are business aspects to it as well, but I think it's, you can see it. It definitely has its drawbacks as well.
Yeah, it definitely does as well, because it's sort of like, we don't want to take away from the talent, because, as you said, it is the complete talent of Kyle Busch to get in the car and wring every single ounce of power out of it and get these race wins. But for a brand image, it's damaging. Do you remember when Fernando Alonso came over to IndyCar for the 500, the first time he did it? And he was able to lead so many laps as well. He was fast straight away. He came back to Formula One, and all the Formula One drivers were saying, well, I guess that shows how easy IndyCar is and how not competitive it is, and how we as Formula One drivers just hop over there and we'll be instantly quick. And it's that type of damagement of image to the brand that you've got to think of as well. If a Cup Series driver can just come in and mince out everything that happens there, it's the damage of the brand. No mention of the talent that Alonso had when he ran the 500, the backing he had, the amount of testing he packed in as well, the amount of physical training he had to do as well to go from a powered steering car to a non-powered steering car. First everyone on an oval, everything that was all gone. The single image was, oh, well, F1 driver goes over, beats Americans in their own series as well. How hard can it be? And that's the thing. That's the image brand that's getting damaged here, was the fact is that he's able to go from the top tier of the triangle to the bottom, the third tier of the triangle, and be so dominant. It's an image problem that they need to fix.
And I think that, I don't know that all that criticism of IndyCar was necessarily warranted. Like, I think Lewis Hamilton got in some hot water because he was, which was kind of ironic, because later he won the race in Japan, and Takuma Sato was doing the podium interviews that year. But I think
I remember that saying,
there was, I think again, that goes back to what we talked about earlier with the crossover between disciplines. For IndyCar isn't necessarily a step down from Formula One. It's a different series. It's got some similarities. It's not completely different like some other series might be, but at the same time, it clearly has its own identity. The race on ovals, obviously Formula One doesn't do that, so it's clearly its own thing. Whereas the Truck Series has several companion dates with NASCAR Cup, and so does the Xfinity Series. And a lot of times drivers use it as a development ladder, especially on the Xfinity side of things. So I think, like you're saying, Josh, that branding identity that you see there, and the image that gets damaged by that, I think that it's 10 times that over on NASCAR, because the series are so closely aligned with each other. Well, we've got a comment here from our own Joe Samniego asking, does Talladega have all 4 series in one weekend? I know obviously Daytona does to start the year. Talladega, the trucks come back to Talladega in the fall. It's only ARCA, Xfinity, and Cup in the spring. So you could get 3 of the 4 there. And I guess if you throw ARCA West in there, you could get 3 of the 4 in Sonoma now that Xfinity's replacing the Truck Series there. So I don't know. I don't think that there's I don't think that there's really an opportunity for that, because I think the days of, like I said, Kyle Busch doesn't do the super speedway races anymore after he got hurt running Xfinity in 15. So I don't think we have to worry about somebody trying the quadruple crown, if you will, and try to sweep all 4 of them, because there are very few opportunities for that anyway.
And I suppose we have got the double coming up in some respects, because I think next year we've got a situation where we're going to have a driver attempt the Indy 500 and the Charlotte race on the May date, aren't we? On Memorial Weekend. Yeah, Carl Larson. Yeah, so that'll be fun to see. But it's different to us, the same track, different specs of cars. But that's an attempt at the double again.
Yeah, well, Casey's backstage. I know we're going to let him in here in just a minute. He brought up baseball. But again, even then, I think, most of the time you see that it's for, like Bryce Harper did it last year when he was coming back from an injury. You see it when guys are rehabbing and they're not fully 100% yet, but they want to try to start getting those reps in. Again, I'm not a huge fan of that either because Harper went down and he hit a home run in each of his first 2 games, which again, but what else do you expect him to do when he's one of the big superstars in Major League Baseball? But again,
Gonna play Little League.
Yeah, that's again, it's an example of something similar, but I think, even then, there are quite a few differences there. You don't really see it for recreational purposes. And he also says the fall Kansas weekend. There we go. They're going to have all 4 there, but again, that'll be playoff time. So I think for truck, playoffs will have started by then because the playoffs start so early in the calendar year compared to Xfinity and Cup. So won't have to worry about it then. Well, before we move on, I do want to give a shout out to some other drivers on this results page here. Zane Smith continues to be off to a great start to the season, finishing in 2nd place. And you can take a look at the rest of the leaderboard there. Some of the names that stood out to us over the course of the weekend. You've got your usual contenders. Ben Rhodes, good to see him having a good run. Maybe he can mount another championship charge this year as well. So we'll be following all that as the season goes on. And as we take you through the second half of the page here, Josh, I want to ask you, I know we were going to play this by ear a little bit. Are you sticking around towards the end of the show?
Yeah, I'll stay around. Yeah.
Okay, that sounds good. Well, in that case, we will bring Casey back in here, and we'll have a nice little transition. Josh will send you backstage. I'll bring you back in for the one shining moment at the end. But thanks again for talking to us about F2 and F3, respectively, and then Kyle Busch as well. Go ahead, Casey.
Yeah, have him stick around for the Indy NXT. There's going to be some names that he'll recognize in all of the USF.
Okay, sure, yeah. Josh, that's okay with you. I know you said the races were going on at the same time, so I know everything you commented on. I know you didn't get to catch the race live, but we can keep you on screen for Indy NXT, sure.
I'll stay on and I'll chip in whenever Casey wants me to chip in with an opinion.
Okay, so let's pull up the Indy NXT results. We can keep it on the 3 screen there. Sure. So let's talk about this for a second. What a performance by HMD this weekend. And this was an interesting race. A lot of cautions, a lot of carnage. A lot of drivers have had interesting days so far in this race. But yeah, the HMD guys, Jacob Abel, what a great move early on to get the lead, and then the cautions fell where they may, and both Daniel Frost and Nolan Siegel took opportunities to get around them and pass them for the lead. It was a good overall race, and of course you got HMD, 9 cars in their stable this year for that team. 9, and guess what? I talked to all 9 of them. That's got to be a record or something. But also, let's talk about this for a second. Jacob Abel for Abel Motorsports. What a performance he had. This was probably his best race so far in his Indy NXT career. Christian Rasmussen, of course, he was with Andretti last year. He switched to HMD, so he comes in 4th. Hunter McElroy comes in 5th. Best run for Andretti. Kind of goes on the path of Andretti really did not have the best day overall so far, but because of course Hunter got that top 5. I know Louis Foster was really, really impressive so far. Of course, from the UK, really impressed last year in what was then known as Indy Pro 2000. Took the championship there. I know Jamie Chadwick had an interesting day, first time in these types of cars, but I really think that she's gonna it's gonna be a big learning curve for her as she kind of takes that next step and transitions from the W Series to Indy NXT. So it'll be interesting to see. And then James Rowe just had mechanical issues that really kind of put him out of the race. Also, this is the first race for Kate Motorsports. It did not go well. I know Enam Ahmed had an incident early on in the race with Reese Gold of Hunkos Racing, and also dropped an F-bomb on the NBC broadcast. So that was fun. And I know Jagger Jones also had an incident there as well. But a lot of carnage in this race. Both not a good day for Hunkos Racing. They gotten some incidents as well. But overall a solid day for the HMD team, and a solid day for Able Motorsports. I know Colin Kaminsky had a little bit of a struggle in the race, but he came home 11th. So all right.
Definitely a lot of attrition in this race here. There was a lot of action all throughout, and a lot of restarts and a lot of opportunities for lead changes. So I know it was a thrilling battle for the win, like you mentioned. But Casey, that wasn't, of course, the only part of the Road to Indy series, if you will, that was in action at St. Pete this week. We also had USF 2000 and USF Pro 2000. And
It's
again,
part of the USF Pro Championships. That's kind of what they're rebranding it now. 2 different series, 2 different tire compounds. I don't want to get into that. Let's pull up the race 1 of the USF Pro 2000 if we could. All right, there we go. All right. Hey, do you see some names that you recognize on here, Josh? There's a couple.
Where's my glasses? Well, hello to Risa. I know Risa Shima. That was back in Formula 3 for a little bit as well. Looking down the list. Jack William Miller, see that? Larim Zendelli, Formula 3. I think he's even had a run in Formula 2, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep.
Jackson Lee, I see as well. I've heard of that one just before. Yeah, see, I thought so. Is there anyone else on the list I'm missing that I need to be like, Francesco Pizzi as well? So, yeah, he was back there.
Francesco, of course, also won a Rolex. He won a Rolex watch earlier this year. I think it was I believe it was in LMP2. He was part of that 55 team that kind of got that big finish out in there. So yeah, and of course he was on the channel earlier this year. Great guy. Lots of things there, but yeah, Christian Brooks from Turn 3 Motors. Yeah. So Christian Brooks from Turn 3 Motorsport got the win there. Kiko Porto came in second. Miles Rowe, of course, he was featured on. He was on this channel not too long ago,
right
here on Grid Network. And of course, also is a friend of my channel as well. Jace Denmark, a solid run for him in this race. We got Yuvan Suthamarudi in 8th. Want to give a shout there. Jackson Lee had a good run. I know a lot of people were talking about him. I know a lot of people were talking about the TJ Speed cars. That, of course, is Francesco Liram and Christian Weir. I know they did not have the best day in this race. They sit in 16th and 17th. And I know the Paps team did not have the best day outside of Miles and Jace. I know Jordan Missick is also going to be part of that team. And they're also Michael D'Orlando finishes 18th on the day. Of course, he was the USF 2000 champion last year. He's with Turn 3 Motorsports this year, however. So also the win. Also, Christian Brooks is not running the full season, so maybe hopefully it will pick up some sponsorship there. By the way, he's got the OnlyFans sponsorship, so that will be very interesting to see as well. Yes, yeah, he's got the OnlyFans sponsorship. All right, well, let's go to you. If we can pull up let's pull up race 2. There we go. A little bit different on here. What a day for the Paps cars, and all 3 TJ Speed cars were all in the top 10. So Jace Denmark, not Jace Denmark, of course he's Paps. Paps got 1st and 3rd on the podium, so that is good. Liram Zindelli in 4th, Francesco Pizzi in 5th. Looking at there, of course, we got Jack William Miller, and then Christian Weir came in top 10. Actually, Christian's going to be joining the channel. He's actually going to be our possibly one of the drivers we'll be checking in within this series throughout the year, and you might even see him here on Grid Network. So so that'll be good. I know a lot of these guys have been featured on my channel a lot, and of course, we're also going to try to see if we can get Miles Rowe on there. Of course, Miles is a good friend of the channel and a good friend of mine, so always good to see him do well. And this is his third straight year that he's won in one of the USF series, so that is good there. Solid list up there. D'Orlando improved to 11th. Christian Weir got a top 10. Basically, just had to talk with him yesterday. Just wanted to make sure he kept the car in one place. And just learning a lot. This is his first season in USF Pro 2000. Of course, he was in USF 2000. Comes from the Naperville, Illinois native, which is just a suburb outside of Chicago. So good to see the 16-year-old do well. But yeah, Miles Rowe always also in the photography and cinematography of that. So what a personality. If you saw him get out of the car yesterday, he was doing a little dance there. So that's good. And just need a personality like that as well. Not a good day for the exclusive team in this series with I know Lindsey Brewer did not have the best day. I know we're going to probably talk about that more on the Women in Motorsports show on Friday, I think. And then of course Yuvan Suthamarudi did not have the best day. There also was some transponder issues and issues with the broadcast. But this was broadcasted on YouTube, and I know that a lot of the things that they're coming from the truck there, and just to kind of explain, it's this is a good series, and it needs more attention than it deserves. I know that Rob Howden and his and the Anderson Promotions team do a great job with trying to promote these drivers and stuff, but yeah, it's one day the series will get known a little bit more as time goes on. I think this rebrand, of course, this is the top step in the USF category, and if you win this, you go to Indy next, so that'll be good. All right, let's go to USF 2000 race 1. So this is the
just real quick, Casey. Josh, did you want to chime in on something here?
Yeah, which driver had you said the driver had an OnlyFans sponsorship as well?
That was Christian Brooks.
Christian Brooks has got it as well. That's a very, it's very much on the nose there, isn't it, to have that on the side of the car. But then again, I didn't know that Formula One have started up their own OnlyFans as well. It's mainly just feet pics from the pedal cam as well, but every motorsport person wants to buy it. I also heard they're going to have George Russell on as well, just like that. With the new green screen, but with the shirt off as well. And, I mean, we already saw they were practicing the Love Island intro as well. If you saw that over there, all the reality shows with their names and all looking like that as well and all that. I was expecting one of the drivers to look like that with the shirt off, all pecs up as well. It was a bit comical, wasn't it?
Yeah, and our own Joe Sammiego is commenting on the on this after his weekend in Portland losing the championship. Good to see him rebound with a strong week. Yeah, I talked with Miles. I've having a couple conversations with Miles throughout the offseason. I talked with him. He's hungry to win this championship. He wants to succeed. He's got a lot of good people around him, especially with IndyCar and Force Indy and the Penske Entertainment Group. There's a lot of people surrounding Miles right now, and it's really good to see. And I know we always talk about. Yeah, go ahead.
No, you finish your sentence first. Go on.
No, I'm good.
I was just gonna say that the OnlyFans sponsorship reminds me a lot of the 76, the Surtees car in Formula One, which ran with Durex advertising on the side of the cars, and it annoyed the UK's BBC, which in those days was all very posh gentlemen who were talking very seriously and extremely English as well on the TV channels as well. They hated it, so it was Formula One coverage in 1976, and the BBC was actually blacked out. We had no races, so the British Grand Prix was covered in like a 20-minute Top Gear style thing back in the day. Nice. Even before Top Gear it was invented, it was called it was something like Wheel Spin or something other, an ITV show as well, and. The only time BBC actually had the rights to for a race was the last round of the season in Japan, and that was only because Surtees decided, okay, because it's this, we'll take the sponsorship off the side of the car. But if we didn't do that, we wouldn't have seen the 1976 Japanese Grand Prix. Formula One at that point throughout the year was booming because of James Hunt versus Niki Lauda. But if Surtees hadn't removed that Durex sponsorship from his car, BBC would never have decided to pick it up in 77 for a couple more years, would never have decided to stream broadcast every race from 1978 onwards, and Formula One in the UK would never have kicked off to where it is now, where it's all over the place, and it's just weird little beginnings like that. And it's weird to hear that something else is still the foundations of, like having, you've got Durex in, you've got OnlyFans in as well. It's still sort of seeping in through motorsports all over the world, and it is true what they say. Sex sells. It's what they all say about it. And it's actually number one marketing technique as well, is that. And it's weird just to see it. And motorsport minds like mine and through yours as well just twinkles back to, oh, yeah, this has always happened before.
Yeah. All right.
All right. Well, Casey, take it away. We've got one more series to cover at St. Pete, of course, USF 2000.
Yep. Of course, this is the second step. Okay, so for people that don't know, let's take you through the ladder of the entire road to Indy. We start with USF Juniors, then we go to USF 2000, followed by I almost said it again, USF Pro 2000, and then we have Indy Next, and then IndyCar. So this is the second step on the overall road to Indy, and the second step in the USF Pro Championships. It's confusing. I'll get you through all of it. All right, let's get the 3 screen back in here a little bit. Josh, do you recognize any of these names?
Well, let's have a look. Nikita Johnson, recognised as well from the past. My eyes are really bad. It's a tiny screen. Simon Sykes, I've heard of before. Mainly races in America, though, if I'm correct there.
Yep.
Looking down, Trey Burke, seen him before. Jacob Douglas, I think, has done a couple of European races in, I think, Euro Formula or maybe Freca coming to the past. I'm sure you're an expert there, Casey, but I know that name. Looking down, is there anything else I'm not picking that I should be going, oh, Elliot Cox seems to ring around every town too. Is there anybody else I'm missing out that I should know?
No, I mean, I don't think a lot of these guys have had the experience that a lot of people have. Of course, there's former Team USA scholarship winners on this. Of course, there's Simon Sykes and Andre Castro. Actually, Simon Sykes is going to join the channel tomorrow. So I know he's, should be fun.
There's a Trey Burke who's a basketball player, isn't there?
There is a Trey Burke that is about and actually went to Michigan. And Trey Burke was on the channel just a few weeks ago. And actually, he might be joining this week as well.
I'm somewhere. I know. I still need to get your text. When did we arrange a date yet? I swear
no, we did not. No, we did not. I would love to have. I would love to have you on because I think we'll expand more on that. What you went on in about people winning series. I think
it's true what they say, Casey. Journalists are busier than racing drivers.
Absolutely. Time. Yeah, they really are. But I know drivers are very, very busy from knowing a lot of them. But they're always willing to come on. But all right, so let's go through this. Loki Hughes is the winner of this race, of course.
I should recognize that one.
What?
Should have recognized that one as well from last season. You were going on about a lot.
Yeah, of course, he was in the F4 Championship series in the U.S. Of course, actually, they get their series started this weekend. Evagoras Papasavas will be in there, so 1-2 in USF 2000 for the Jay Howard Driver Development Team, and then in third place, Nikita Johnson representing the VRD Velocity Racing Development. Simon Sykes carries the banner for Pabst. I know it's not a full season for him. But a solid race fall weekend. We'll get to him in a moment. Sam Corey, of course, coming from VRD, of course, raced in USF Juniors, comes home with the top 5. Trey Burke for Future Star Racing comes home in 7th. We possibly could see him in running in a truck or in an ARCA car, possibly. That's what he was telling me over a few weeks ago. I know he's going to be doing also some Silver Crown USAC racing as well for Davey Hamilton. So. Excited to see that there. Jacob Douglas comes home in 8th for the exclusive team. Andre Castro comes home in 9th. And Joey Bernenza will be in 10th. Of course, he's running part-time in the series and running the full USF Junior season. That kicks off in a few weeks at Sebring. Not the best day for Zach Ping. I know Noah Ping, his older brother, was supposed to be there, but he's actually running in GB3 this season as well, and we might even catch up with Noah as well. The Ping brothers, they're two great people. So we'll talk about there. And then of course you mentioned you mentioned Elliot Cox. He's actually racing for the Sarah Fisher Hartman Development Team. So I know he was also in USF Juniors last year, making the step up there. So up in 18th. And also want to give a shout out to Nick D'Orlando. That is the younger brother of last year's champion, Michael D'Orlando. I know that this was only his one race with exclusive. I know, obviously, as we know in racing, funding obviously funds the effort. He's trying to put together a full season. Right now, this was his only set weekend. Obviously, Nick will be joining the channel this week as well. So, yeah, we got a lot of content from these two series coming up. So, it's should be fun there. And also, 2022 USF Juniors champion and inaugural champion Matt Clark finished 11th for DeForest Racing. All right, let's go to race number 2. And we have VRD Racing taking the crown there, Nikita Johnson. Simon Sykes came in second. I know they had a little bit of a battle in that one in first and second. So that was a great battle there. And as just said earlier, Simon might be joining the channel this week to talk about that. Solid weekend for Trey Burke, 2 top 10s in his run over there. Al Morey comes in with the top 10, the first time that he's in this series for the Jay Howard team. So he comes in 10th. Solid run for Maxwell Jameson for the DeForce team. He comes home in 9th. Sam Corey comes home in 11th. So a big step up there, and also Avery Towns for Exclusive Autosport. A lot of, of course, he's somebody that is, you would think it's like a young guy, but some of these guys are in high school or college students. Of course, he got the racing bug late, and of course, kind of starting up. I think he's, got a chance to talk with him. He finished P21 in race 1, and now it's finished in P12. So very impressed by the effort there. And Sam Corey, I was also talked with him after the race and said he learned a lot with these cars. So a lot of guys have learned a lot about these series, and should be good to go when we go to Sebring. But overall, what a weekend it was for the 2 USF series. All 3 of them will actually be in Sebring at the end of the month. So we'll have USF Pro 2000, USF 2000, and will also be the kickoff to the USF Junior season in 2023. All of them down in Sebring, and of course we'll cover it as always on GRID Network.
Thank you for that, Casey. Certainly a lot to look forward to, and USF Juniors getting their season started in just a few weeks towards the end of the month at Sebring. So we'll be sure to bring you all of that here on the Encore show as always. Now let's shift gears back to the stock car side of things and go over the Xfinity Series, the final race that we have to cover this weekend. And it was Austin Hill backing up his season opening win at Daytona with another one this weekend at Las Vegas. Hill took the lead from Chandler Smith with just a couple of laps to go, really coming in the white flag. Justin Allgaier also got around Smith to take second for Junior Motorsports. Last week's winner, John Hunter Nemechek, won stage 1 and ended up coming home 6th. Nemechek currently sits 3rd in points behind Hill and Allgaier. Josh will be pleased to know that Kyle Busch did not take the win.
Busch again?
Yes, it is.
He didn't take the win, but he was in the race. He did take 4th. So was going for a Triple Crown this weekend, or this weekend sweep, whatever you want to call it. Did not end up getting Xfinity or, of course, the Cup race. And I think Josh is just going to walk off the set here. Casey, I will let you give your thoughts on Xfinity. And I want to ask you specifically about Austin Hill, John Hunter Nemechek, and Justin Allgaier. Do you think we're seeing a new big 3 in Xfinity this year?
There's a few. So yeah, we talk about the big 3. You said Austin Hill, John Hunter Nemechek, and Justin Allgaier. Is that what people are calling the big 3? Okay. I don't know. I think that's a fair statement to make. But we're 3 races in. There's still going to be more players than together. I think Chandler Smith is going to get some. He's going to get a couple wins on the board. I think Sammy Smith's going to get some wins on the board. I think he's going to be really contending. Josh Berry, another one. We should hear from him. And then I've been saying it all year, but Sam Mayer is going to get some wins this year too. Another top 10 for this team in 7th. And also, I think Parker Kligerman is going to contend for wins. That Big Machine Racing team was fast. I know they had some issues early on when Kligerman spun. It was good. It was good to see him come back from that. If we can go back to the first page there. But Tyler Reddick coming in 13th. By the way, Josh, you will not see him this week. He'll be Connor Mozak will be making his first start in the 24, and obviously he'll have a majority of races this year. Kyle Weatherman, want to give a shout out to him. The newly rebranded Our Motorsports team came home in 16th. Shout out to Alex LeVay coming home 18th in an RSS car, and then of course Kyle Sieg, another top 20 finish as well, coming in there. Are you surprised? Hey Ben, are you surprised that Brandon Jones has not had the best start to the season?
A little bit. I know he's had a couple of incidents that have set him further down the running order as well. But what are we now? 3 races in, I guess. We're coming up on the 4th this weekend. So, I don't know. I don't know what our Josh friend is doing right here with the.
What are you doing, Josh?
Oh, nothing. I'm just going to board the next flight to America. Where's the next race, by the way, so I can just go and scout out exactly how to stop people, getting into NASCAR. Yeah.
Next race in Phoenix, and as Casey was saying, Kyle Busch is back on the Xfinity entry list this weekend. So
lovely. I think I just spotted where he's hiding all the talent.
Oh, we have lost Kevin Pressure here on GRID Network.
Guys, you never know what's going to happen here on the Encore show.
And this is a live show, by the way.
Yeah. I'm not
All
wearing
right,
the gloves for the other reason. You know, just hiding prints.
Hey Ben, let me. Okay, all right. Hey Ben, let me ask you. Are you surprised that Brandon Jones has not had the best start? Had the start to the season that a lot of people expected?
Yeah, I mean, I think I got most of my answer in, but yeah, it is a little surprising. You know, obviously Junior Motorsports has had some very strong runs. They were in a very strong position to win the Daytona race, and obviously fumbled the bag a little bit there with a couple of incidents, taking them out and setting them down the order. But Brandon Jones in particular, you know, obviously it hasn't been to the start of the season that he would have liked to have seen with this new partnership. But again, it's still early. You know, it's not going to be impossible for them to bounce back and move forward on that car. You know, all the Junior Motorsports cars obviously are capable of running up front any given race weekend. So I have no doubt we'll see Brandon Jones be better than 21st on most weekends in that car this year.
Yeah. By the way, a couple updates to the entry list for Xfinity. Garrett Smithley will be in the 91 this week. I know that the 99 was withdrawn this week. I know that team has had some terrible luck getting into races. And speaking of bad luck getting into races, the 74 team will have a new driver this week. Dawson Cram will also be in that car this weekend. And as I previously mentioned, Connor Mozak will be in the 24. He'll make his first start of the season, and actually he'll be in 20 races for the team this year. And also Ryan Truex will be in the 19 for Joe Gibbs Racing in that car.
Yeah, not Martin Truex, Josh. No, don't worry about that there.
Good.
Ryan
I
Truex.
thought another one was going on my list then.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I have to say, Casey, I'm glad you brought that up. I do feel sorry for Ryan Vargas. I know he's been, you know, just trying to nickel and dime his way to every opportunity possible. He's been working very hard to try to put these deals together, and you know, has had some bad luck not being able to qualify and getting shuffled around to a couple of different rides.
The thing is, I know he wasn't planning on racing all the races with that team. I know he's planning on doing a lot more. Actually, I think he'll be in a few truck races for the On Point Motorsports team. I think starting in Atlanta. So it's going to be
but that makes failing to qualify. It's got to sting even more because you know you're not running the full season, and you know you don't get as many opportunities as somebody who is running the full season would to go out there and gain that racing experience. That, you know, I mean, you can put as many laps into the simulator as you want. You know, there's nothing like getting out there on the racetrack to run actual race laps, and obviously when you fail to qualify, you don't get that opportunity at weekends. So certainly hope the best for Ryan. I know, like I said, he's worked very hard to put some deals together for the last several seasons now, and is working hard behind the scenes to make the most of his opportunities. So certainly hope that he can get in some races later this year.
Yep. So
I feel like I must. Oh God. I was going to say, I must clarify, I have binoculars because I use them at the racetracks to look into the pit lane. That's why I had them, because then I can see everything if I'm beyond the grandstand area. I can look at all the cars as well and just make sure everything's okay. Got that trick from Ted Kravitz. And actually, I've got them so that I can have them over there and I can hold a mic and then I can just pick them up and hold the mic at the same time. So if you are going to any races this season, I strongly recommend getting a good pair of binoculars, because you will be amazed even how close you get to the cars at some of these tracks as well. But believe me, binoculars, you can see everything. I was at Snetterton and I had those in me as well. I was able to look through the garage and I saw right at the back of the garage that a new engine was being brought in for one of the cars. Not even ITV, who were broadcasting at that time, picked up on that. So always take a pair of binoculars. You never know what you're going to find at a race circuit.
Yeah, absolutely. You never know, and also you never know who you could see at a NASCAR race. You want to tell Joshua found in the ARCA race at Toledo?
Don't tell. Was it Otto Borden? Was that?
No. Right sport, wrong person.
Right sport, wrong person. Was it Gatlin? Justin Gatlin. That's right.
Yep. Yeah. So that was anytime you get to meet someone of a U.S. Olympic, basically a legend.
Blimey.
Or of course he was also there for Gainbridge, and of course also they were the sponsors of both the Rev cars that weekend, and Nick Sanchez of course ended up winning the championship that day. So
did you talk with him?
I did.
Oh, very nice.
On his channel actually as well. So
yeah,
fantastic. Yeah.
Yeah, and also if you want to catch up on any of the interviews I got from Toledo, Ben clipped a bunch of them together on his channel. And
I put them in a playlist.
Yeah, put them in playlist. Yeah.
So
Yes, I have I noticed I have a playlist in my vanity issues. I play it all the time. It's on my favorites.
Yeah.
It is. I have favorited it. Oh, Joe say I might need a raincoat in Portland.
Yeah.
I have a raincoat. Where is it? Hang on. I've got a great raincoat. Oh, I can move now. I've got wireless mic. Come on, hang on. Where is it? Here it is.
I would
It's on
hope
my
you got a
little thing
raincoat living in the UK.
Yeah.
Well, I do. It's a very nice raincoat. Here it is. Look, and it's a proper like a Parker one as well. It's nice. It's green. It's a big hood. Fake before anybody has a go. You know, all our vegans that watch these days. But it's very warm and very, very snuggly as well. And when I put it on as well, I look like Bernie Sanders. And I wish I was joking. In fact, can I get this on and make myself look like Bernie Sanders for the end of the show? This is the problem with live television. 2 seconds. I literally mean it. I'm with my gloves on as well. Go on.
Yeah, I'll tell you what. While you're getting that on, I'll go on to Casey here as we go into
Yes, do that.
I'll let Casey go first while you get situated with your raincoat there. Casey,
Bernie Sanders.
we're coming on to the end of the show here. What is your one shining moment from the races we covered this weekend?
I don't even know what. Yeah, this has been insane. You know, there's a lot of people that we need to that had such a great weekend overall in a lot of these series. But I got to give it to Daniel Frost, winning an Indy NXT. I know that he's been in this series for a long time, and it was a good run for him. And then also just how about Austin Hill? This was just one of the big things that he was, you know, getting 2 wins. Getting 2 wins to start the season. You know, that's got to be good, and he's kind of turning into a championship contender. But obviously, there's still a lot of season left before we get to the championship race in Phoenix. So, yeah, of course, we'll have to see how Phoenix goes. Obviously, a lot of eyeballs will be on the cup side with the new package and all that. But yeah, those are my 2 shining moments. One to Austin Hill and one to Daniel Frost.
I didn't mean it when I said I look like Bernie Sanders.
You got the mask and the mittens and everything there.
I've even got a little blanket. When I say, I listen, I was walking through Liverpool because in those days, last year, it was end of lockdown. I had a mask and I had this on, and my friend took a photo of me and said, Bernie Sanders caught in the wild. I thought, you cheeky devil. But I look like that. Let me get like this. Look, I look like Bernie Sanders at the organization of Trump as well. Or was he at Biden's? I can't remember which one it was.
I think it would have been Biden's in 2021, yeah.
But I'm just Bernie Sanders as well, and I'll give my look like this. My favourite one as well for this weekend has to be Juan Manuel Correa as well, to get points in Formula 2, returning after his horrible accident. That's definitely absolutely fantastic for me as my one shining moment. It proves not only the ability of the rehabilitation services in motorsport these days, but also determinations and self-will of everybody to get back in. A fantastic drive. I'm boiling now. I've got the heating on in this house. This raincoat is not actually meant for indoors. I'm taking this off.
Yeah, well, guys, it's been a fun show. Obviously, I know we've been joking around here. I do want to talk a little bit on a serious note here. In my one shining moment, of course, everybody that's been following the truck series, they might have heard of the accident that Max Gutierrez was in just before the season started at claim of life of his younger brother, Fico. Max made his return to the truck series this weekend, came home with a 21st place finish, but that's not the story. The story is Max being able to come back and race in his brother's honor. And we certainly hope the best for his entire family as they're continuing to process the accident and their loss, and certainly hope the best for Max as well. It's great to see him back out on the track, and I think sometimes that can be part of a healing process as well. Of course, Fico was an up-and-coming racing driver himself, and for Max to come back so quickly to be able to honor him, I think speaks to that young man's strength as well. And certainly we hope the best for him throughout the rest of his 2023 season as he continues his racing career in the NASCAR Truck Series and whatever plans he'll have for the future.
Here.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's going to do it for us on a fun little encore show we had tonight. It's hard to believe we've been on the air for an hour already. I was expecting the show to be
do you remember when I said I was going to be 20 minutes?
Yeah. Well, thank you both so much. Obviously, it's been a pleasure hanging with both of you. And thank you to all of you who have been watching our show this evening. We really appreciate it. Make sure you're following us on all of our social media platforms, especially right here on YouTube. Help us hit our goal of 1,000 subscribers before the Indianapolis 500 later this May. And follow us on all of our other social media platforms as well: Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. We're streaming on Twitch and LinkedIn as well. Anywhere you can find us, make sure you're following us. If you really liked what you saw tonight, consider taking 5 minutes after the show to invest in our Patreon. Invest in Grid Network, help keep us on the air throughout 2023 and beyond. Our long-term goal of $500 per month will allow us to begin attending races on site on a more regular basis, expanding our coverage for our viewers. A special thank you, as always, to Colin, Deshelle, Mark, Robin, and David. If you'd rather make a one-time donation, you can select the Buy Me a Coffee option. The link to that is in the description box below as well. You can buy a coffee for your favorite on-air talent. Any amount will help us continue to grow our motorsports media outlet. Now, taking a look at our upcoming schedule on Wednesday, Kobe will be back on with Josh to bring you Grid Tonight. Matt White will be a part of that as well. Joe Samniego has the Women in Motorsports program on Friday with Daniel Zeri. And as always, you can stay tuned for more Grid Live coverage this upcoming weekend with pre-race wrap-up. And then right back here on Encore, NASCAR will be in Phoenix with Xfinity and ARCA. Josh, Casey, any final thoughts before we sign off the air?
One more news bulletin I just received. By the way, as I mentioned, Garrett Smithley will be in the 91. Apparently, Dustin Albino just tweeted that he spoke to BJ, and right now there are no plans for the 99 team. So might be a one-car effort. I know the 78 car is basically Anthony's Our Motorsports team from last year. So be interesting to see how that goes. I think that 78 car is going to have a pretty few strong runs for that team. Really, I've always been impressed with Anthony Alfredo.
2 bits of news. One, Adam was probably going to make his mention as well. I'm delighted to say it. Supercars back, of course, this weekend at Newcastle. It's going to be fun to see. And also, there's a new little sharing development over on my channel as well, where we're going to let Megan loose for 10, 15 minutes after a race weekend. A show that we've got a working title of Mob Rules. Her full name, Megan Olivia Burch. So Mob Rules. I thought it was a fun little title we came up with. Basically, she's going to sit down literally with a podcast mic and just start ranting. Everybody loves Megan's rants, and now there's going to be a series on them where she gives her views on everything that happened in the Bahrain Grand Prix. And it's going to be fun. We've been scripting it and making sure that everything she says isn't going to get us in trouble somewhere down the line. And it's going to be a lot of fun. And I think we're filming that tomorrow, Wednesday, and it should be out soon. And then it'll become a regular series. So that's going to be fun.
Well, as always, make sure you subscribe right here to our channel on Grid Network. Subscribe to all of our individual channels as well. I'm Ben Schneider for Joshua Burch and Casey Campbell, and Brandon Crosslin as well, who's off tonight. He'll be back next week. Thank you all so much for watching. Have a wonderful rest of your week and enjoy the races this upcoming weekend.
Thank you for watching us right here on YouTube. Be sure to subscribe and check out some of our other videos, including Life on the Grid, where we interview folks from the motorsports industry. Thank you for watching. We'll see you next time.